and welcome to the Love How Deep podcast with Brian and Heather Mayer. Our purpose is to equip married couples like you with resources that rely on the transformative power of God's Word to strengthen your relationship.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Love How Deep podcast. We are on episode number 45, and we are in a little bit of a two-part mini-series called Being a Better Father for Your Kids. We are on part number 2. I don't think it's necessary that you have to listen to either one of these in order, so if you're just catching this one, you can continue to listen to it and then just jump back on part number 1, episode number 44 when we're done here. But I wanted to just really record this on my own. This is mostly meant for the guys, for the men in the relationship, for the husbands. But if you're a wife listening to this, I think, it's fine. You'll get a lot out of it. Again, like I said in the episode before, don't be jabbing your husband and, don't be elbowing him in the side when you hear something that he's not doing. Just encourage him and, just lift him up, really, is the point of it. But again, this is mostly, I'm talking to the guys here, and it's just me on this episode. Heather is not with me. She is with her sister, and I've actually recorded 44 and 45 together on the same day. So even though they release a week apart, it's not like she's been away from me this long. She's been gone for about 4 or 5 days. So, and I actually pick her up tomorrow as I am recording this podcast, but she will be, by the time you listen to this, she will have been back. And I think, just a quick side note, I think sometimes it's good to have a little bit of time apart, especially if you and your spouse are best friends and you do everything together. I think occasionally it's okay to do some things separately. Now, I would say if you're on the other end of the spectrum and you don't do a whole lot of things together, then probably being apart, a lot is maybe not what's necessary. So anyway, take that with a grain of salt. But anyway, so we did 3 tips in our last episode about being a better father for your kids, and I've got 3 more tips for you today. And I guess before we get into these tips, just a Bible passage, a verse that really speaks to me when we're talking about these things is in Proverbs 20, verse 7. It says, "The righteous who walk in his integrity, blessed are his children after him." So what that means is, again, if you're a good model, if you chase after Christ, then your children are going to be blessed, is what that says. So, and I just love that. That really doesn't have anything to do with how we treat our kids. It's just, how we are as men, as husbands, as fathers, as, people that work, as somebody that maybe does a ministry at church. I mean, all the different hats that you wear, as long as you do it with integrity, your children will be blessed. All right, let's get into our tips for today. I'm calling this tip number 4, again, just simply because we did 3 in the previous episode. But this one is difficult for men. Show love and affection. Again, maybe we've had fathers that did not model this for us. So this one is a tough one for a lot of guys. Sometimes we're not the most emotional people. I know I work with a lot of men that struggle to show emotion, and even sometimes struggle to feel emotion, sometimes even struggle to name their emotions. A lot of times for us guys, when we're asked by someone, how are you feeling about this? The answer a lot of times is, oh, I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm feeling. So this one's not easy, but I would encourage you showing love and affection. It's very important. And in 1 John 4:19, it says, "We love because he first loved us." So God loves us. His love is unconditional. His love is an action. It's put into action by what he does for us and what he did for us. And that's that he sent his son to die on the cross so that we wouldn't have to endure, hell, basically. That's the ultimate kind of love right there. That's an unconditional type of love. And as best as we can, we want to try to get that. And so get to that with our kids. And so it might be for you, again, getting better with just, either your words or your actions. I mean, that's typically what it comes down to. But maybe it's, maybe you sit down next to your child and ask them about their day. And I think it's very important to not intimidate our kids, and sometimes intimidating our kids. And I've learned this and through my counseling training is that, and I don't work with children, but I've learned this over the years from other people that have told me this, is that children can be very intimidated when you're sitting across from them and you're kind of looking at them, staring at them in the face. And so there's a time and place for that, of course, but what you might want to do is just go, if they're sitting on the couch, go sit right next to them. And then you both are kind of looking out at the same thing, whatever it might be. So you're not really staring at each other. And sometimes that can help kids open up, talk about things, and it can create a better two-way dialogue where it's just two people just being curious and talking together, even though it's a father and a child. And I'm not saying, please don't read me wrong, I'm not saying that I want you to be a friend to your child. And we've all heard that before, that no, we need to be parents first. But you can have that occasional moment where you sit down with your kid and treat them like a friend. And of course, if they start to steer into areas that you feel like need discipline, well, use your best judgment. But if you can, just listen, and just let them know that you care and that you're in their corner, and that no matter what they do in life, what they want to accomplish, that you're with them, that you're behind them, that you'll do what it takes to help them, again, when it makes sense. But I think we don't do enough of that. What I tend to hear, especially out of fathers, is, if a child says, I want to be a ballerina, or I want to play in a rock band, the first thing that parents usually do is, no, you can't do that. That's not going to work. And why not say, you know what, you can do whatever you want. You can be whatever you want to be. And of course, age appropriate. I mean, I suppose if it's a 21-year-old getting ready to go out on the road, I mean, maybe you might want to share a little bit more about why maybe being in a rock band could potentially be an issue. But at the same time, let them make their own mistakes. But, and when it's a younger child, I would just say, my opinion is, let them dream, because I think the more that you say no, or you explain why something won't work, then your children's world gets smaller. They stay in probably more of a bubble, more of a shell. They don't want to try new things. They don't want to risk, failure. They don't want to risk upsetting you. So as much as you can, show appreciation, love, care, encouragement. Just push them to be all that they can be. And so I know that's not comfortable for some of you. So take it slow, take it easy, but I would highly encourage you to be encouraging to your children. And again, it can happen through words, it can happen through physical touch or quality time, but making your children feel valued and cherished is really like you're mirroring the unconditional love of God, is what you're doing there. Tip number 5, and again, calling it tip number 5. We've only had 2 tips, but we've got 3 in the previous episode. But this is to encourage and support your child's interests. And I really kind of probably just, spoiler alert, when I was talking about the last one, this kind of overlapped into this one. But, if your child shows interest in a new activity. So I remember when I was a child growing up, it was mostly with my single mom. For the most part, I would see my dad on the weekends, but I was at school with my mom. And so extracurricular activities were really a responsibility of me talking to my mom about it. And it was tough for her. She was, like I said, a single mom with 2 kids. And she worked a full-time job. I don't remember her getting home till maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock, something like that. And so it was really hard for her to give me transportation to get to things. And so I remember when I was in high school, I had this urge to want to play basketball. I mean, I wasn't very tall, but I just thought, well, maybe I'd like to try out for it. I think it'd be kind of a cool thing to do. But I was always, I did have social anxiety. and just anxiety in general as a kid. So that would be something that would kind of stop me from trying out. But I also had this thought of, well, she's busy. She can't do this. She's told me no before. And, I wish, I guess looking back, I wish there would have been a way that she would have been able to somehow either make it work or have, said, hey, I don't know that I can do this, but let's talk to a friend or somebody we know. Maybe there's a situation where we can get you to the practices, get you taken home. But I think a lot of times she would kind of leave that to me, and being the introverted, child, it was pretty hard for me to ask for somebody like a friend's parent or something to give me a ride. So that a lot of time wouldn't happen. So, but again, as much as you can, encourage and support your child's interest. Again, within reason. You have to be careful. Sometimes I think people can get their kids involved into too many things, and then you're just wearing them out. But obviously, I would think that if you're in tune with their behavior, if you're following my advice on the previous episode number 44, tip number 1 was being present. If you're present with your kids, you're probably going to be able to pick up on some of these things if things are going, if there's too much going on. But again, encouraging, supporting, attending their events, encouraging exploration, again, supporting their choices, even if they differ from your own as much as you can, and then celebrating their successes, and then, just being there for them when they've had a disappointment is very, I think is very helpful. So again, encouraging and supporting your child's interest. And then our final tip is to be a consistent disciplinarian. So we're going to end on a little bit of a tough note here. And maybe this is potentially more up your alley, although I will say I know men can struggle with this one as well, because there's something about, again, in the family and with kids, women can tend to be more assertive, maybe more aggressive. We men tend to be more passive, and we just kind of come in as the heavy when things have completely fallen apart, and mom is exasperated and can't figure out what to do from here. Then, we kind of swoop in at the very end and sort of drop the bomb, so to speak. And so that kind of teaches the kids, we're not really fully there throughout the entire process. We just come in as bad cop. And I don't think that really works very well. So I think just being consistent, being there through the entire process of a situation that you're dealing with your children. Don't just be the one to come in at the very end. And I will say, I love this verse in Hebrews. It's chapter 12, verse 11. It says, "No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it." And I see this time and time again. We don't like when we're disciplined. We don't like it when we've been told something, but that we're not, that we need to be better with or different with. But I will say, when I look back on my life, I'm really grateful and glad that I was told the things I was. Like, I remember when I was, 12, 13 years old, I had my half sister. She was like 4 or 5. So we were pretty large age difference, about 8 years apart. I would just kind of torment her. I mean, I don't think I was doing anything to physically abuse her, but just, wrestling with her and probably not being very nice to her, so to speak. And my mom had some very serious talks with me, and and at the time I didn't like it, but now looking back on it, it's like, yeah, that was the right thing to do, of course. So you're going to get some pushback on this tip around being a constant disciplinarian. I'm sorry, not a constant. You want to be a consistent disciplinarian. Constant disciplinarian means you're constantly disciplining, and hopefully that's not something you have to do. But, you do that by setting clear boundaries. Just explain as much as you can to your child. And I know what I'm probably hearing from you as you're listening to this is, you know what, Brian, on this certain issue, I've said this thing over and over and over again. And I get it. I understand. I know it's exasperating. But if you can, just continue to set those boundaries. Be consistent with the rules. Discipline with love. And then I would say have constant conversations with your spouse, with your wife, about what's going on and how you feel, and try to come to some consensus about what the right thing to do is. It's not always going to happen. There's going to be times where you're at odds with one another. You don't think that your spouse has the right perspective. But again, just keep communicating through that. And then, I know we get to this place as parents where we like to say, when we're asked, why do I have to do this, Dad? Why? It's always, because I said so. Well, and again, I know that sometimes comes from exasperation, or you're trying to teach your child that this is just a form of respect. I'm telling you about this. I'm telling you to do this, and you should respect me. And I get it. That makes sense too. But I will also say, explaining the reasons behind the rules. Hey, the reason that I don't want you to put your finger in the light socket is because you'll get shocked, and you might need to go to the emergency room. And so, sometimes I think we need to focus a little bit more on teaching than on the punishment piece of it, because sometimes that's really all that they need, because maybe they don't understand. So I hope this has been helpful. This 2-part episode, or I should say 2-part mini-series on how to be a better father for your kids. And, like I said, purposefully, I did this in 2 episodes because I know us guys, we can't take things in long, big chunks. We've got to have it chunked out into something a little bit shorter. So I've tried to keep both of these episodes around 20 minutes or less for your benefit. But no, in all seriousness, thank you so much for listening. Do appreciate you as men. Just encourage you to continue to keep modeling for your kids what it's like to be a good father, and to be like Christ as much as you can. It's not always easy, but I thank you so much for joining me, and I will look forward to seeing you with Heather in our next episode. Take care until then.